and welcome to another episode of Toby Talks. Today's guest needs no introduction. He's an England Six Nations winner. He's good mates with Caitlyn Jenner. He's soon to be a household name DJing in Ibiza, and he's going into the MMA's Bellator as well. It's James Haskell. Well, first of all, James, I want to address the hair. You're looking pretty slick at the moment. My girlfriend hacked my hair to pieces during lockdown, but I'd say your wife, Chloe, I think, cut it. She's done a good job.
She has, yeah, but I'm very jealous of your hairline. You've got a very substantial, floppy, long hair, bit of hairline going on there. Mine, unfortunately, is receding up the back. But yeah, she had a good go at it. I was looking like Marv from Home Alone, and when she was calling me that, obviously wasn't doing my confidence much good. So we went and drove past my amazing barber from Jack the Clipper, a guy called Alex, and he lent me some gear, and we did a little FaceTime tutorial. So I did the beard, and she's done the lid, and she's actually done it pretty well, to be honest with you. I think it could be, I mean, I won't keep her doing it because actually I found going for a haircut very much like, quite a cathartic process. Like women kind of own the beauty salon, taking 2 hours to get their hair highlighted and sitting down. But men don't have that. But actually with my barbers, you go in there, Turkish coffee, Turkish light, chit chat, lid managed, beard trimmed thing, face mask, massage, flamed ears, nasal hair, ear hair, eyebrows cut. You come out with no hair out of line, looking sharp as fuck, ready to go. And I'm going to make sure that as soon as I get back, I can start supporting my barber again.
Well, it's nice you say that about my hairline. I don't think my hairline's looking all too great. How have you found this time anyway? Anybody that follows you sees that you're constantly taking on different projects, and your career's obviously been non-stop, and you've kind of come to the point where probably this period of time during lockdown, it's been quite nice for you to sort of sit and stop and take stock of what you've achieved. Has that been possible, or is your mind kind of in overdrive?
No, I think, I equate the analogy to being a bit like a shark. If you stop as a man, or if I certainly stop, I die. If you stop swimming, you start having to listen to the voice in your head. You start having to listen to your demons. You start having to reflect. It's very easy just to go, and it's a curse of a man to keep going, yeah, just keep working, keep doing this. Yes, I'll do that. And for the first time in kind of 19 years, really, I've actually stopped, had nothing to do. Everything I have got stuff to do, but all my work is public facing, so the training, the fighting, the DJing or whatever. And I, luckily during this period of time, I've written a book which is coming out in October the 1st, called What a Flanker. I play on obviously What a Wanker, but there'll be lots of people expecting me to to either come across as that or come across as myself, which is quite fun. But I've actually been okay. I mean, obviously this is a difficult period of time because people are losing their lives, losing their livelihoods, and it's very difficult. But I'm very good at compartmentalizing, just sitting very kind of happily in a day-to-day basis. I've made work for myself, but I have sat down and reflected on things that are important to me, what I want to do when I come out of this lockdown. I only want to do things that I'm really excited about. I don't want to do what I've done in the past, which is just 10 things kind of average, and instead I want to do a couple of things really well. I've really enjoyed the DJ live stream stuff that I've been doing, which has been great. I was a bit nervous about doing them, but they've been fantastic. They're going down really well. So all in all, I've actually been pretty positive and happy. And I always try to adopt the mentality of being slightly better than I was the day before. So I'm still training, I'm still eating, I'm backtracking my food. I'm reading much more than I was. I even switched off and started playing video games, which I never do. My wife, on the other hand, his work has gone through the roof. She's training 300 people online at the moment with her friend Emma Story Gordon. She's changing people's lives, and I'm sitting on my ass playing Xbox, which is to her is a novelty because I'm never really home, and if I am home, I'm always head glued to doing stuff. I tell you what, I won't. Well, I'm happy to do this podcast, but I reckon I've done 50 podcasts since I've been in lockdown. So that's including my House of Rugby. But I have talked non-stop to so many people. It's a joke.
Well, I'll try and make this one maybe a little bit different to what you're usually talking about. But you obviously started your rugby career at school. You went to Wellington School. Now, I went to public school actually just up the road from you because we actually had our asses handed to us a few times by Wellington. And people obviously look and think, well, you went to Wellington School. You've had born with a silver spoon in your mouth slightly, but going off to boarding school when you're a lot younger is an intimidating thing to take on. Do you feel as though that shaped you as a man?
Look, I think I've obviously come from a privileged background. I think that I've had those opportunities. I think, but that's, without sounding very American hippie, that's my truth. That's my life. I can't apologize for it. I can't comment on other people. I'm obviously, socially enough aware to understand, and everything I say is in my sphere. I think going to boarding school and starting boarding at kind of age 9, which I did at prep school, and then kind of boarding from then till 18. Yeah, I think it does shape you. I think it's, I was a real homebody. I still am. I still get to Sunday evenings and kind of get that real hollow feeling of like, shit, I've got to go back to school, even though I'm 35. I did enjoy it, and I think it opened doors. But what instead of people thinking it's like a public school network, the difference with that I think made a real impact on me was that I did everything at school. So you could go to state school and do everything and have the same experience. Obviously, sometimes opportunities aren't the same. You could go to state school and do fucking nothing. You could go to boarding school, pay all that money and do nothing, achieve nothing. I had the mentality of doing everything. So I did all the school plays. I played hockey, football, tennis. I did something called field gun, which is the most middle class sport that used to be done from like the Royal Tournament, which is just disassembling a gun carriage, building an A-frame, whistling over on zip lines. I did that. I represent the school chess team. I did the school debating. There's nothing more I could have done. And I came out of that a much more rounded, confident person than perhaps I would have been in other things. And I think that's what you're paying for with those opportunities. I think, look, I didn't always enjoy it. I think, there's a lot of stuff that goes under the radar as kind of character building, which is just fucking plain, bullying. But I think it is quite a hard place. But I was lucky Wellington was a good school. And, it set me up for what I'm doing now, and was the reason that I got into rugby. I never wanted to be a rugby player. And I didn't go to Wellington to play rugby. I went there because my dad went there, and it was a good school. And I came out of it with A and 2 Bs at A level, having done everything else, and then obviously got a rugby career. And that was about it, really.
And a lot of people, when they look back at your rugby career, will remember particularly probably the year, the 2016, when you won the Six Nations, and then obviously had the thrashing in Australia as well. But when you first started out with England, obviously you captained England at youth level. Who were those kind of senior players that put a bit of an arm around your shoulder when you first started out and that you looked up to?
I mean, I think, look, I looked up to Lawrence Dallaglio. That's pretty well documented. He was kind of my hero. I think, his personality on and off the field, his ability to play, the gravitas he held was great. But actually, he did look after me. But, there was players who probably had a much bigger impact on my career. Joe Worsley, I spent every day working on my tackling with him. I went to become a professional rugby player, and I sort of was about 17, and my dad took me to one side and he said, listen, I know you don't like tackling. And I was like, fuck off, Dad. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, listen, you don't like tackling. You never tackle anyone around the legs. I know you don't like it. You can lie to everyone else, but you can't lie to yourself. And however annoying it is when your parents are right, I didn't. I wasn't massively keen on it. So basically I went to Joe Worsley day one of WAS, said, listen, mate, you're the best tackler in the world. I need you to teach me. And for 20 minutes after every session, every week, for almost 5 years with him, my first stint, we worked together with another guy called Tom Rees, Simon Shaw. He was another guy that put his arm around me. Tim Payne. These guys, all these people had a real kind of impact on my career. But obviously at a time Lawrence was kind of my idol. But he was obviously so big time that it was difficult to get too much time in with him. But we would often go head to head, and he'd take me. When I was driving my Vauxhall Astra, he'd take me out in his Range Rover and buy me breakfast, which was quite nice.
And when the interviews that I've seen with you since you actually hung up your boots, particularly the one I remember with Alex Payne on House of Rugby, when just after you'd announced your retirement, you almost gave a bit of an impression that you felt as though something was missing. And whilst to the outside, to me, your career was a glittering career. You achieved all of that there was to achieve. it almost felt as though from your body language a little bit like you felt something was missing. Was that because of the influence that Eddie Jones had over you just before you retired, and how well you were playing in that year, particularly when you won the series 3-0 down under? Did you feel like something was missing slightly?
I think that's a great question. I think look, I think I am a perpetual. Look, I'm satisfied and I enjoy life, but I'm not. I'm also in the same token very unsatisfied with things. I want to achieve. You watch the Last Dance documentary with Michael Jordan and discover that you've achieved absolutely nothing, and you weren't. In comparison to him, you look at people who on the surface have all the things you want. I look at Carl Cox and Simon Dunmore from Defected Records, all these kind of guys that I think are amazing DJs that I want to be, and you're constantly not satisfied. I think with my rugby career, I would have loved to go to a World Cup. My 2 World Cup experiences were terrible. They were just really, really poor. So to go to 2019 would have been a dream. I think I wanted to give everything I could do to do that, and I'm not a quitter, and I hate. Injuries got in the way of a couple of things in my life, and I hate giving up because I want to work hard, I want to prepare, and I need to do what I'm going to do. And it was difficult, and I just think once I finished playing, I don't ever feel like a rugby player, which is the weirdest thing. I feel like I'm I feel like I that happened to somebody else. So now when I sit here today, I think to myself, my wife's had to, during this period of lockdown, sort of sit down and talk to me and be like, well, what makes you happy? What are you going to do? But the fighting thing, I gave that 100%. But I tore my pec before I went into lockdown. I've had a problem with my shoulder since, so that's a bit in doubt. The DJing stuff's great, but there's no crowds at the moment, and it's difficult to be taken really seriously. I've written this book, as I said, What a Flanky. That was really fun. But again, is that going to be successful? I kind of, because in my mind, I'm always on to the next thing. It's very hard to be super satisfied, and I don't really go around patting myself on the back. And it's not great. It's a reason, it's a recipe for success, that mentality, because you're always striving, but it also can be your mental undoing. So I don't know, but I basically said to my wife that, I want to make sure I come out of lockdown and do only the things that I love, only things I'm interested in, and really sort of give it a proper go.
And I actually spoke to Alex Payne the other day about this idea of, which I must admit, I feel like I suffer from a lot, even like now just talking to you, that idea of imposter syndrome. And it sort of plays into your rugby career as well, because I know you've mentioned a few times you didn't think you were necessarily the most gifted rugby player, but you were prepared to work harder than anybody else, probably influenced from the likes of Lawrence Delallier or Joe Worsley, as you mentioned. Did you feel that when you were playing, that idea of imposter syndrome?
I think, look, everybody I think has imposter syndrome. I think it's a very common thing. Otherwise that expression "fake it till you make it" wouldn't exist. I think I think there is, for people who have out and out confidence. They've probably got other underlying things that we don't have. For those people who are quite lack the confidence in themselves. I had to see a sports psychologist from the age of 17 to 35 to address my confidence issues around my performance, around my game. And, that's followed me into every area of my life. I do a DJ gig. My first thought is negativity is mistakes. I do an after dinner speech, I concentrate on the errors I made, or, could it have been better? And again, that's a recipe for success, but it also means that you don't back yourself enough. You don't believe in yourself. So everybody has that. I have that in lots of areas. I didn't have it necessarily in rugby because I put the work in to be there, and I knew that I could rely on the work. But did it mean that I believed in myself? No. Did I think that I was the best? No. Did I have a lot of self-doubt and focus on negativity? Yes. It didn't mean that I didn't think I should be there, but I just probably didn't back myself as much as I should have done, which meant that you play inside yourself a little bit. You maybe shirk the limelight. Maybe you don't go for that ball in the game. Maybe there was an opportunity to do something. You just don't want to make a mistake. So not making a mistake means you don't do anything. Whereas you've got to have that thing in life of, like, everyone makes mistakes. The game wouldn't flow without mistakes. Life wouldn't flow without mistakes. You just need to give it your all. And that's what, towards the end of my career, I eventually got to.
And going back towards the end of your career, the 3-0 whitewash of Australia down under, would you say that, aside from obviously winning the Six Nations a number of times, was a highlight for you? And do you miss, I always refer back to, and I feel like people became more aware of you almost as well during that tour, because you started doing more of your vlogging and that kind of thing. And there was the whole thing with Owen Farrell, which I loved. Do you miss that day-to-day camaraderie with the England lads and also Wasps, Saints? Is that what you miss the most about your playing days?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I think it's the people, you miss more than anything else. I can't run anymore, so I'd love to keep playing. My body, in great shape at the moment. I'm pretty fit, can't run. So the playing side, your mind plays tricks, but I couldn't ever go back and do it. So I miss the personalities and people. I think in 2016 was for everybody a pinnacle. I was so in the mode that I was thinking about, the game after. I've only ever watched the game back once, and yeah, I played well. What was different after it was everyone was really nice to me. Even the rugby commentators who normally knife me in the back, everyone was really nice. Fans who, I've always divided opinion, were nice, But then even though they were nice, like about time he fucking played, a good game after 77 caps or whatever. So it's just, I think, moments like that I should have reflected on and made more of, and that was my biggest regret, is not celebrating the mini victories or the big moments, because you're always on to the next thing. I think, for me, I miss the personalities of the game. Being around 40 lads, for 19 and a half seasons, you just live for the moment that someone comes in with a shit haircut, bad pair of shoes, something's happened, they've kissed an ugly girl or whatever it might be, just because for that moment, someone's going to come up with a genius nickname. And I spent 19 and a half seasons laughing, 100 times a day. They did a government study that if you laugh like 10 times a day, you're much more likely to live longer and have a more positive life. I've laughed my ass off the whole time. So when I retired, my friends and teammates were messaging my wife, because they assumed that, obviously, because I had no audience, no one to talk to, I was just going to get into her, like just banter her, go, look at what you're wearing, look at the state of those shoes, oh my God, fucking hell, brush your teeth, your breast stinks, look at it, whatever it might be. And but luckily I obviously wasn't like that, because when I'm around a crowd, I'm a performer. When I'm on my own, I'm quite a loner. I'm not massively sociable. So lockdown hasn't really, I know people are losing their lives and it's a very difficult thing. And again, I can only talk about my experience, but I've actually quite enjoyed it. I've got stuff done that I wanted to do. It's been hard not earning any money. I actually lost money because Joe, we do House of Rugby's gone into administration. They owed me a fuckload of money and haven't paid me. So, those difficult things happen, but I've got my health, and there's way more people out there struggling than I am.
And have you and Chloe got on well during lockdown? I mean, I'm at the point now I've only got to breathe in the wrong direction, and my girlfriend is annoyed at the sight of me. Have you generally got on pretty well?
Do you know what? We're quite good. So I'm very lucky again. I think, it'd be a different story if we were in a one-bed flat in London with no park, no space, but we live in the country. I've got a nice house. Chloe works in one room, I work in the other. We meet at meal times. My favorite time of the day is breakfast time with her. We sit down, I make the fresh coffee, we have the orange juice, we sit down, we watch Friends, we eat breakfast. Breakfast for me is a 3-course meal, like everything. So I get my calories in, then I sit in here. We've got an outside space in the garden, so I sat down, smoked a cigar, edited my book, did everything that I could sort of really do, and then we would meet together. And we've had our rows, like every couple rows. Chloe and I probably row as much as anyone, but we've had a good time, and there's not any tension. We're quite good. I think there's when you spend this time, an inordinate amount of time with your partner, certain kind of boundaries of what's the word? There's no mysteries left. Let's put it this way. There's no mysteries left to anything anymore. And so, but luckily I love my wife, warts and all, and always have. We have a very, very close relationship. The only thing is in the evening is that the biggest thing we argue about is my wife's always cold. I'm always hot, right? I know it's a male female thing, but I'm like hot all the time. So I spend my life in either no t-shirt on and a pair of shorts, or a vest on, or t-shirt shorts. You're never going to find me really wearing a hooded top unless it's freezing cold. My wife in the evening, we have a constant battle over the thermostat. She'll turn it up, I'll fucking turn it off. She'll get a duvet out in the evening. She'll have a glass of wine, so she gets a bit excitable. I'm trying to watch a movie. She'll climb on me, put the duvet on me. I'm getting like 2,000 degrees of heat here, so I get a bit irritable. So I've had to tell her just to fucking stay over that end of the sofa. If you get cold, don't put a thermostat on. Put a woolly hat on. Put tracksuit bottoms on. Put a hoodie top on. Stop making the house a tropical sauna.
And now through your career, and actually I love this feature that you did on House of Rugby. You talked about your bin juice 15. if you had to pick one, ultimate pro, all-round rugby player that you played alongside during your career, who would that be? And then also, if there was one ultimate sort of bin juice player that you encountered along the way, who would you pick?
Well, I mean, the ultimate bin juice player is my mate Johnny Barrett. We played at Wasp days. He was there for 40 years. Played 3 games. Was the ultimate kind of team man. I'm trying to think the ultimate professional. There's quite a few that. I mean, Johnny Wilkinson. I think you can't get a guy who more round. I mean, actually. Ironically enough, the mental side of his game was probably something he wasn't addressing. I mean, he was with Steve Black, but the fact that I don't think he enjoyed a lot of what he did until he got to match days and was probably run by demons more so than anything else. But again, that was his recipe for success and why he was the best fly half in the world and has won a World Cup. But he was most all-round professional bloke, hard worker, team man. But my own disappointment with Johnny is that he never utilised the fact that he was a national hero in his good looks. He could have done way more damage than he ever did. Which was, for a man with a body like Baywatch, a face like Crime Watch, it's always a bit disappointing because he could have hung out with David Beckham, could have gone to LA, could have been rolling around with A-list celebrities, could have gone out with Angelina Jolie, because he's that good looking, he was that talented, and he just wasted it. He wasted it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but you're hanging around with A-list celebrities as well. You're at the royal wedding.
Mate, I'm so bottom of the list. I'm probably lower than Z. I'm Z -1, and I operate with a few people, but not really. I'm always on the periphery, and the problem is I'm not really good at networking and schmoozing, because if you're just a not good person or your chat's terrible or whatever, I just try to I just can't deal with it. I can't play the game, and so many of these people just hang around and have also lost touch with reality. But I'm good mates with Harry, and I have been for a long time. It was a privilege to be there, and he's a top guy, but he's very down to earth. So that's different. But there's one person that I met that blew me away was I got to meet Elton John. I met him a couple of times before actually, and at the royal wedding he came up and tapped me on the shoulder, and I turned around. And it was Elton John. He was like, "Hello, James." I was like, "This is the greatest moment of my life." Not only is Elton John the absolute legend for so many reasons, LGBT, the most incredible voice, performer, story, everything, and he's remembered my name. That was a big moment for me.
And he played, didn't he, as well, at the sort of the reception?
He played five songs. Yeah. So basically, I'm as close as him to those blinds behind me. Just it was amazing. Just Crocodile Rock, Tiny Dancer, Yellow Brick Road, mate. What a hero, Rocket Man.
Love it. But one thing you are is definitely somebody that's kind of been quite outspoken, not in a bad way or anything, over the years, but one that's been keen to, through your vlogging and things like that, you've always been keen to get your personality across. And I know you've been quite you've spoken about it recently around the rugby media environment being quite sanitized, and there's not many characters in the game, or at least we're not seeing the characters in the game anymore. You've got the likes of Joe Marler, particularly during the World Cup, for example, that was quite funny on social media and that side of things. Do you think that is rugby's downfall these days, that we're not getting to see the real side of the players and the coaches?
I think, look, it's the downfall of most professional sports. I think, the beauty of rugby was the accessibility of players. You go to a Premiership football game, you're lucky if a Premiership football spat on you because of, the popularity, the size of the game, the fact that, the fans are pretty diehard, and they kept themselves because, they'd just be mobbed. Rugby, you used to go to a bar after the game, you'd meet the players, you see the players, there'd be opportunities for autographs. There was that connection. And I think that that was our point of difference. And I think now with social media, that should be there, showcased to show people's personalities. The problem is, with professional sport, it comes down to winning games. And in professional sport, you have tall poppy syndrome. If you put your head above the parapet and you start playing badly, well, it's because you're interested in social media, because you're too busy talking a good game. You're too busy doing this. You're distracted, and everything's done out of fear. And it takes someone to be under pressure, like with Saracens, they used to go on an away trip every single season, and they'd always actually do it before they played Wasps, and that would be like they get dropped off in like outskirts of Amsterdam in pairs and have to work their way through to town and meet up and get on the piss. And they'd be on the piss for 3 days, and then we would play them, and they'd always beat us, which was really disappointing because my team talk as captain would be right. This lot, they don't give a fucking shit. They've been on the piss all week. They haven't trained. They don't care. But in their changing room, their team talk was, lads, we've had an unbelievable week. We haven't paid for anything. We've been to Amsterdam. We've had a party. We've enjoyed ourselves. We've bonded. If you want this to keep going, you better go and win. And funny enough, they always won. So, I think there is a bit of and they dealt with that pressure. And you probably had board members that would have turned around and said, this isn't really the image we want. Or, if they lost a game, well, it's because you're on the piss. But it's actually, it's the ability to stick to your convictions. And I think with social media in the game, having personalities, encouraging people, but also I think making the media more accountable would encourage people to have personalities. If you talk shit, write shit, fake news stuff, you should be held accountable. And sports people are held accountable, but journalists kinda can write what they want and just move on the next day.
And one platform that you're really excelling in at the moment, and it's testament to the amount of viewers and listeners that you're pulling in, is House of Rugby. And I doubt you could imagine that 2 years ago, just under 2 years ago, it would have had the success that it has had. And that you've created a real environment there where people can come on. I think Alex was saying that Sam Burgess called you drunkenly on a night out and agreed to come on to House of Rugby to tell his story from 2015. You've had Nigel Owens as well that's come and emotionally opened up to you guys. How have you managed to create that environment? And you must be proud of how far it's come.
Look, I've absolutely loved House of Rugby. It was something that I wasn't going to do. That I think actually originally Joe wanted to get somebody else in to do it. I was probably, like most things in my life, either seen as too controversial or a bit like Marmite. You either love me or you hate me, very much like everybody does. I'm certainly not, can never be called a vanilla person. They asked me to do it. I ummed and ahed with my wife. I said, look, can I commit to going down to London from Northampton every week? It's 4-hour round trip, plus a couple of hours filming. I'm still trying to play. I want to get back in England. So she said, listen, you should do it. You're getting paid to a podcast. It's fun. You love talking about rugby. You love Alex. Go and do it. And in the first show, we broke all the records for the year in one show. The first show we did. And it was, it's been a journey, an emotional roller coaster the whole way through. I absolutely loved it. I think, bizarrely, it actually would be bigger. there was lots of things, bits and pieces at Joe that could have done better, which was disappointing because the first live show the first proper live show we did was in Wales, and it was 1,500 people. We sold out in 2 hours. You know what I mean? And all the other ones we sort of done in London at smaller venues. And, there was bits and pieces where we wanted to do much more. But the Japan trip, going there, the privilege of going across, following that, the diary stuff, the fact that players feel they can come on here and be honest and talk, and I think, it's interesting, there's stuff I can't talk about that, some people get their knickers in a twist about what's said on there and, take it badly and try to, we've had threats of legal action and everything else like from people, but these people are petty, small-minded people who are trying to trying to hide from what's being said about them. So it's kind of an interesting world. I absolutely love doing it. I hope, obviously, the fact that Joe's got into administration, that we can keep doing something. But I just want to create a spot where it's not about rugby. There's plenty of sports channels, broadcasters, diehard people who know way more about rugby than I ever will, and genuinely live for it. I want to talk about personalities. I want to talk about stories. I want to talk about what makes you tick. And do you know what? 1 week, it's an emotional roller coaster. Tears. Next day it's a laugh fest. It's a week after that it's just a chat off. Another week of that, it's you're just learning stuff about people that you've been teammates with and had no idea. And sometimes it's controversial, sometimes it's not. But I just think we want to create that platform where we're not trying to stitch people up. People feel very honest about coming onto it. And I think in sport and in life, people often aren't as honest as they should be. And for me, I've been so privileged to do it with Alex and with Mike and Joe giving me this opportunity and to have something like, is it 12 million downloads or something ridiculous, or, and to have over 100 million minutes listened is like insanity. And a great sponsor in Guinness. So look, we're very lucky, and I want to carry on, but I've got some big plans, some big ideas, which hopefully we'll get sorted.
And can you allude to any of those big plans? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, we want to do a lot. We want to do a lot more live shows. We want to do obviously keep the Tuesday night podcast. We'd love to do a more of a studio show. We want to go and follow the Lions tour. We want to interview other people in other sports. I want to finally get some quality merchandise out there. Instead of sort of novelty stuff that we've had. And we really just want to keep building. We want to go to other countries. We want to talk to other players. We obviously the online format has worked really well at the moment. Has meant that we're getting people who we wouldn't normally get access to. But obviously, sort of everything comes to an end pretty sharpish at the end of June, and obviously Joe are in a spot of bother. So it's anyone's game what's going to happen next.
If you go on the Lions tour, do you need anybody to come and carry a bag or?
Mate, we're always looking for bag handlers. Listen, I spoke to Warren Gatlin. If he needs a bag handler, I'll go on the tour for him, and you can be my bag handler. Everyone needs a valet, and if you're prepared to, shine my shoes, carry my bags, hold my mineral water, and make sure I'm supplied with food at all times, you're welcome on board.
Nice. I'll send my CV across. On the trip to Japan, was there any stories? I mean, it looked as though Mike Tyndall spent the majority of the trip boozing. Was there any stories to be told? How did Alex Payne keep it up?
I'm not a big I'm not a big drinker because I like drinking, but I'm not a big drinker because I just my hangovers the next day I'm like in a body bag, and we came up with this potent combination of drinking, having pints of lager, but with sake shooters basically. So little glasses, just sipping sake beer, which was a heady combination which created terrible hangovers. The old school rugby players, like former World Cup winners, your Justin Marshall, your George Gregans, your John Schmidts, your Mike Tyndalls, those guys, I think out of however many days, 4 weeks, some of them drunk or on the piss. I would say it was less nights. It was probably they missed 4 nights out of however long that was. And Mike's an absolute machine. He was off doing those kind of things. Obviously, I'm not a World Cup winner, so I wasn't invited to any of those things. But Japan is one of the best countries I've ever been to. Tokyo is an incredible city. If you ever want to go traveling, get a hotel in Tokyo for 2 weeks and go and every day there's something different to see. Get on a bullet train, go and head to Hiroshima. There's more Michelin-starred restaurants in Tokyo per square foot than anywhere else in the world. There's every kind of food, show, karaoke. I mean, I can't sing at all, but I had one of the best nights we've ever had as a House of Rugby team singing karaoke and just getting steaming. But also, I trained. It was amazing. It was just the whole thing was incredible. We laughed the whole time. It was just amazing.
I enjoy it because I remember watching actually your vlogs. I think you couldn't find a gym, or you kept getting kicked out of gyms for some reason.
Yeah, for tattoos. So obviously they associate tattoos in Japan with the Yakuza because of all that. If you see people with full body art, they're normally Yakuza. But I'd go in there and they'd be like, right, you need to cover your tattoo. It's like, how? Do you want me to cover it up? And they were like, we need to wear a long sleeve. So I started having to buy long sleeve tops. And, I was... I went barefoot. Some of them, you can't go barefoot here, but you had to go barefoot there, and you couldn't take weights from here. And they were literally, essentially just picking on me the whole time because they were like, I can't do this, don't do that. Can I move this machine? Can I use this? Can I move this? Can you move that? And I was, when I work out, I get quite angry because a lot of it's like fitness training and conditioning. So it's, I'm like blowing out my arse, like tired, and some bloke kept coming up, going, put this down, having a go. And by the end of it, I just turned around to him and went, fuck off, I'm going to throw you out the window. And he was like, I just ran off. So I couldn't go back to that gym, but I was like dying. But I had to do it because, they kept thinking, I said to them, listen, I'm a professional rugby player. I'm not a gangster. But, they made me cover everything up. I had to wear stuff, long sleeves, leggings. I took my feet off and I had a tattoo on the side of my foot. It was just a bit of nonsense, really. But culturally, you've got to appreciate the way they are.
Yeah. And the ultimate detox after all of that was your trip into the jungle. How can you sum up that whole experience? Because it's a strange one, because I watched another interview with you recently and there was a sort of a misconception in the press, the way that you were portrayed in the jungle for people that don't necessarily know you, but a testament to how popular you were was among your campmates and how devastated they were when you eventually left?
Yeah, look, I think it's an example. I mean, I hate to use the words fake news because Donald Trump, probably one of the biggest dickheads in the universe, keeps using it and deflecting from racist, misogynistic, stupid behaviour. But the media, they look upon things through a frosted mirror, as do fans. That show gets 14 to 16 million viewers. It was a massive privilege to be on there. Did I want to do reality TV? No. Did I think it's a bad combination with a personality like mine? Probably. But I thought it was an opportunity to maybe put me in a position in the public eye that was going to help me with business, help me achieve some of the stuff I wanted to do. Actually, ultimately, it had no impact on my life, really, other than people come up and say, "Are you James off I'm a Celebrity?" And the fact that all the fans who watch it are actually way nicer than rugby fans or sports fans. They come up and say things like, it was brilliant to have you. I thought you should have won it. You're incredible. I love that. I believe so, which is great. Whereas rugby fans come up to you and say, "Oh, sorry, I'm a Leicester fan. We're going to beat you this time. I didn't think you were that good for England." And they walk off, and you're like, "Why did you come up and say that to me?" All my favourites, Mate, James, I used to think you were a bit of a prick, but then I saw you on TV and I thought you're a really nice guy. It's like, what are you talking about? Just give me the compliment. Piss off. Like, why would you waste your time saying that? But they do. Sports fans are mad, so they kind of do that. Very territorial. Whereas the TV fans are they were very polite. So that was nice. I think, look, I spoke my mind in there, and I was very hungry. I was only on 130 calories a day from 4,000 until I ate in the evening, which probably pushed us up to about 800. And they told me that I was going to be on more food, but I wasn't. I went in there 122 kgs, just over 19 stone, and I came out 110, so I lost 12 kgs of whatever it was in the jungle, and that was very hard. But I snapped at Kate Garraway because I every day I said I wanted women to go first because and the problem is in the jungle, everyone's aware they're on TV and they don't forget they're on TV, and it's very much like, you go first, no, you go first, no, you go first. After like 17 days of this, it's very boring, right? It's very annoying, very irritating. There's a lot of like palaver. No, you have my bed, no, you have my. So I just said, listen, girls, ladies go first. Let's just go, ladies go first. Simple as that. You sort out amongst yourself. But all the men are here are comfortable, want to go first. Apparently in 2020, that's the wrong thing. Chivalry apparently is letting women decide where they go, not telling them where to go. But most of these people aren't starving to death, sitting in a jungle, having to repeat themselves every day. So I said that, hungry or no hungry, I would have said it the same thing. I believe women should go first. I was never going to take Kate Garraway's bed. I was always going to sleep on the floor. I was never going to take food out of people's mouths. It's not how I am. Fact, that's it. I snapped at Andy because he'd missed out on a roast dinner and essentially kept asking everybody about it. And what he didn't realise was that Caitlin had a bit of a go at Roman, upset Roman. Roman was upset because he couldn't get Ian the roast dinner. Ian hated the food. It was awkward. Andy and Cliff had just come in there, so nobody cared. So when on day 2, when Andy's still going, "Mate, did they have Yorkshire puddings? Do you have orange juice?" I'm like, Andy, shut up about the fucking roast dinner, mate, because it's gone, it's over. You ain't going to get it. So just leave it, which is what you do in a team environment because it's the greater good. On TV, it comes across as you're bullying nice Andy off Coronation Street. So when there was a period of time that I was labelled as a bully, so all the media jumped on it. Big public school rugby player, and everything I did was sitting down. I didn't lose my temper. I just said that, and then basically we had a situation where we were voting for the Bush-Tucker trial, and the Bush-Tucker trials are A and B answers. They're 50%. There's no context, no relevance to any of the questions. And in our camp, one day they're just talking round and round and round, trying to debate an undebatable question. It was just so ridiculous. I said, let's just get, and they couldn't vote. There's 10 people in camp. And they went, right, who votes for A? 8 people vote for A. Who votes for B? 10 people vote for B. I was like, that's 18 people. Do it again, do it again, do it again. Finally, they get it right, and I just said, this is bollocks. And I said, I can't be involved in a circus of stupidity. And people are like, oh, Haskell thinks he's cleverer than everyone. Haskell bullies everyone. Listen, debating an undebatable question is stupid. It doesn't care what you say. Well, we've got all the time in the world. No, I don't have the time in the world to sit around listening to people talk about whether or not everybody thinks Christmas is a wonderful time of the year. Because who are you asking? Because if you ask a load of Indians, they don't believe, or Japanese, sorry, they don't believe in Christmas. So what's the context? There's no context. It's fucking A or B. Just have a guess. And so I got called a bully, but my wife had it way worse over here. All the tabloids ringing up. Haskell's a bully, bullies Kate Garraway, Kate, people in Kate's family are like, wow, James Haskell, Kate's the most clever person, all this kind of stuff going on, which was, which is difficult. I feel, and as a person, I'm gutted because Kate and I always got on very well. I've got a lot of respect for her, and I'm really sad that, obviously poor Derek, who I met, who's a lovely guy, they're both lovely. Obviously he's still in a coma. So it's just, it's a bit of a difficult time for her at the moment, but she was brilliant, but out of context, it looks like we didn't get on. And so Chloe had to go on Lorraine and deal with all this kind of drama. But when I left, all my campmates, cried and basically, said, Caitlin said, ripped the heart out. Ant and Dex said, we've never seen a reaction like it. Jacqueline said she's missing. I was like a big brother. Roman was like someone that he opened up to, because I didn't have to be James Haskell, the rugby player. I could be myself, which meant I could be quieter. I could put my arm around people. I didn't really struggle in there, bar the food. So I felt good. I was able to help other people. That's what got me through the situation. And, to come out and then have the media do a complete U-turn and say, well, we feel like, I'm a Celebrity fans feel like I've been lied to. James Haskell's such a terrible person. Why is everyone so upset? And it ultimately saved my career, because those programs can end you. I'd label for bully for life. I could have been, ruined. But because everybody, and ultimately that's what I've always had in life, my peers and my teammates are the only ones I've been interested in. Their opinion, I don't give a shit about the media. I don't give a shit about the fans. What I care about is my friends, my teammates, people I work with, and they all showed me to be who I was, which was great.
And just finally, before we go, with moving forward, you've got your MMA, which of course has to be put on the back burner slightly because of the current circumstances. How was that decision met by your wife, Chloe? Was she happy that you were trying out something brand new, and is it something you've always been interested in?
Look, I've always been interested in it. I got to work with an incredible gym, London Shoot Fighters, and the unbelievable coaches there. But, it was a decision where probably I was looking for something to replace rugby. I was looking for something competitive. My body's pretty messed up. And, my wife, cried and was basically like, doesn't want to do it. She spent a lot of time sitting next to me in hospital beds and sleeping next to me. When I've had surgery, and she didn't want to see me get beaten up anymore. And I think that I probably leapt at an opportunity to try my hand at something. And and for 6 months, I trained every single day of doing it. I fought, I sparred, I trained, I did everything and lived it. And then obviously I tore my pec, and then lockdown happened. So I don't know what's going to happen out the other side of it. But, I think I might stick to DJing. It's a bit safer.
And well, could we see you DJing? I obviously saw you were DJing at Ibiza Rocks last summer as well. Sadly, I was there a few weeks before for, I think it was the Ibiza BBC Radio 1's big weekend thing that they do over there, but I didn't get to see you play.
Yeah, I've been asked back to do it again this year, booked in September. Whether it comes across, whether they cancelled it or not, I don't know. But hopefully I'll be back and doing as much work as I can.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time out. I know, as you say, you're inundated with requests, and thank you very much for taking the time, and keep entertaining us with House of Rugby and all the vlogs, particularly the lockdown vlogs as well, because we love it. So yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, mate. Anytime.